back again. In this one, we are going to get this thing buttoned up and driving. Not a huge list of things to get buttoned up, but enough to keep me busy for today. So off camera, got a couple random things done, added some power steering fluid, although I still have to bleed it, so I'll try to get that done today. I kept my ground cable solution that I'd switched up from one of the previous videos, just grounding down to the block instead of the head. I cleaned that up, added some additional tape, made it look a lot prettier, kind of got it situated out of the way, so that is done. Other things on the list for today: want to get gear oil in this thing, get the shifter back on it. I want to at least get the muffler clamped on, and then get a hanger mocked up back there so that the exhaust is in a decent shape with the muffler, so I can at least drive this thing around until I get basically the rest of it done. I kind of explained the plan in the last video, but I want to at least get the muffler on in this video so this thing is a little bit quieter as I drive it around. And then once that's all done, I'll probably start it, make sure clutch is engaging fine, all that jazz, and get the coolant bled, power steering bled, and then this thing will be good for a drive. So might sound like a lot, but really isn't that much. Gonna try to get all that knocked out today, and then go for a drive. So let's jump in and get started. One little trick, tip, whatever you want to call it, in terms of adding gear oil to a manual Transit in Colorado, if you don't feel like doing it with the pump method, which is a little bit of a pain, you can actually fill from the top through the shifter. My shifter was off anyway. I needed to reinstall it because of I had to take it off basically to get the motor in. So I figured, hey, why not fill through here, not deal with those pumps. You basically just take the fill plug out from underneath, put a pan under there, fill from the top, and then whenever it starts trickling out of the fill plug, you are done. So that's what I'm about to do now. I'll throw it on a time lapse and just show you guys the process. All right, fluid's in, shifter's back in. You guys saw that over the time lapse. The requirement for the transmission on these, I think, is 2.4 quarts. I probably did somewhere right around there, maybe slightly less. I'm sure I didn't get every little bit out when I initially flushed it. But yeah, 2.4 quarts. And then I also put the shifter back on. Couldn't find a torque spec, so did the old snug it down. I ended up reusing the gasket. I think it's a metal gasket, so the gasket felt pretty good to reuse. So that should be done. Now I gotta put the center console and all that jazz back on, which I'm probably gonna do off camera. Something I didn't mention in any of the videos yet, but I was bored one day and the steering wheel on this thing was an absolute mess. Basically the whole top of it, like the leather, was coming off. So I bought one of these cheapy Amazon stitch kits. So looks a little bit grandma-ish, but definitely better than like one of those covers that just, you know, kind of fits on, and at least it kind of looks like looks a little factory, like not the worst I've ever seen. But yeah, it's just nice not to get like leather residue on your hands and stuff. So figured I would at least show that. Solid like $12 Amazon purchase. All right, I'm gonna get the interior buttoned up, and then I'll check gear oil and shifter off the list. All right, quick show and tell. So was able to get the muffler on. This was a goal, the goal that I had that I think I talked about earlier, just to help do its job and make sure I could hear if there's anything else going on. I also mentioned, I think in the last video, that I wanted to get some hangers sort of fashioned up. So excuse my extreme MacGyvering, but this is kind of what I do. So again, all of this is temporary. I fully plan to get this exhaust welded out and real hangers and prettied up. So just saying that again, so no one thinks that I'm just gonna leave this as is. But Basically got this lap joint to get the muffler on, was able to put a bigger bolt into this clamp, and then go up to one of the heat shield bolts with a piece of rubber. I forget where that rubber was from. I think some kind of exhaust kit that I bought before, and basically just built a hanger off of the heat shield bolt. So it's isolated with rubber, which is nice. And then back here, you know, I wanted to just make sure that this muffler wasn't going to go anywhere. So I basically put a strap around a couple bolts here, and just as added insurance, added this metal strap, so that the muffler wasn't going to go anywhere. So everything feels pretty solid. I think it'll be good enough for the time being until I can get it to a muffler shop and get it welded out. That is going to be a pretty high priority of mine. So again, very temporary, but at least allows me to have somewhat of an exhaust and you know, have it not be extremely loud. Well, ran into another issue while I was trying to bleed the power steering. If you can see down there, it's kind of hard to focus, but my steering shaft is not letting the wheels go lock to lock. So I didn't dent it enough, or I didn't dent it in the right place, and now I have to figure out how to fix that. So likely we'll continue denting that more, or maybe have to go to like a lower profile bolt. I don't know, but it's one of those issues I gotta work through. So I'll report back once I have a solution. All right, got a new mass airflow sensor from Rock Auto. Got it installed. Time to see if it fixed my problem. Mass airflow sensor is still acting up. I'd actually emailed Current because I was a little bit concerned that now this is the second MAF I tried, and Current actually said occasionally on the LS3s with aftermarket mass airflow sensors that the last two wires need to be repinned. So basically the tan one you see here was in the last spot on the right, and the black one was in the spot before that. So I basically depinned these and swapped those two. So the last two plugs on the right side there are now flip-flopped. And they're saying occasionally this will fix the problem with the mass airflow sensor. So swap these out, I'm gonna plug it in, and then we'll retry and see if this worked. All right, guys, it's taken a while to get this video out. Can't say I'm not a bit frustrated, but was about to take it for a drive yesterday, and something funky was going on when I had it running. So I ended up testing my voltage at the battery, and my battery was reading about 9 volts with it running. So unfortunately, my alternator is not charging the system, which is not good. So I might need a new alternator now. So today my goal is to figure out if it's the alternator or not. If it is, I'm gonna have to try to get a replacement, throw the alternator in, and then go from there with the coolant and then the MAF issues. So just one thing after another. I can't say I'm not a bit discouraged at this point, but really not much else to do other than keep working through the issues. So hoping yesterday was a fluke and my alternator decides to work today, but if that's not the case, then I need to get a new alternator on this thing before going much further on anything else. So that's where I'm at. I'll update once I know more. Got a new alternator from Rock Auto. So now I have to put this puppy back in the truck. New alternator is back in. Everything is tightened down, intake's back in. It's a pretty easy job. I was very pissed off about this, and I don't think I went into detail, but I don't really know what was going on with the alternator. Like, there is a chance that it was just never working. And the battery was just powering this thing, considering I had it running for pretty short periods of time with a trickle charger on it when I wasn't running it. So I'm not sure. The whole thing is very strange. So I just hope this alternator works. If the alternator continues, if this one's bad too, then I'm going to start questioning either something with the wiring or something fundamentally wrong with like the ECU. All right, gang, well, I think I talked about this already. If I haven't, I'll give a quick summary, but I've been going back and forth with Current on a couple issues. It's really two issues that are left. It's the MAF issues, so there's something wrong where the truck doesn't want to run with the MAF plugged in, and then there's also an issue where the alternator is not charging the truck. Those are really the two major issues that I have right now. So on the alternator, I'm on the second one. I got it tested this time when I got it back from Rock Auto. I've added grounds, I've swapped out fuses, I've checked all of the wiring. At this point, like, I don't know how much more I can do on the alternator, so I'm really hoping that Current helps me figure that out. In terms of the MAF, Current came back and said that they actually believe it's due to my tune. They think that they tuned it for the wrong MAP sensor, not MAF, but MAP, M-A-P, the manifold pressure sensor. So, really the only way to get the truck running, because the MAF and the MAP work together, is to get the truck tuned correctly with the right MAP sensor, which then should mean that the MAP sensor will be read correctly by the ECU, etc., and it means that my issue should be solved in terms of my MAF issue. So, I have to get the ECU back to them. So that's what I'm going to do today. They already sent me a return label. It's taken a long time to get here, but I'm really hoping this fixes the MAF issue. So I'm going to take the ECU out, get it shipped back. Hopefully I can get it turned around pretty quick, and then when I get back, we'll fire it up and see what happens. Alright, got the ECU back from Current, coded now, well mapped now for the correct MAP sensor, which should fix the mass airflow issues. Still have the alternator issue, doubt that the new tune would fix that, but regardless, I'm going to throw this on a time lapse, get the ECU in, then I will start it up and see if we at least eliminated one of the big problems. Fingers crossed. Alright, ECU is replaced with the updated one, battery's reconnected, so I'm going to start this thing up. Hopefully it fires with the MAF plugged in. As you guys saw, very good news. Mass airflow sensor is reading. Seems like it's healthier, so that is good. The main thing that I have to worry about now is my alternator is still not charging. One thing down, but yeah, still can't drive this thing very far given that alternator is not making any juice. Plan for today, I am going to drive this thing. I don't really care anymore at this point that the alternator isn't charging. I've been charging up the battery to make sure I have enough juice. So the plan is to take this thing for at least a spin around the neighborhood and just kind of get my feet wet. Again, alternator still not charging. It's really the major issue. And I'm still puzzled. I've done a lot of things. So I'll kind of talk about that a little bit more, about everything that I've attempted. But all that being said, plan is to take this thing for a drive. I'll take you guys along with me. Fingers crossed, battery doesn't die, and nothing bad happens. Alright, you guys just saw the first drive. It was short. I'm considering that a first drive, even though people are probably going to give me shit for going down the street and turning around. But I think it was a successful first drive. It told me a lot, and now I know things that I have to go fix in addition to the things that I knew I already had to fix. So just quickly talking about wins. It drove, it shifted, got into third gear, didn't seem to have any issues. The engagement on the clutch is pretty intense, so not the easiest thing to drive. It's the 6-puck clutch. Kind of wish I would have gone with something a bit less aggressive, but it is what it is. So it drives, it shifts. It felt like it had a lot of power. Clearly I couldn't beat on it. I was just driving down my street and back. But power felt good. It was smooth, you know, it revved up okay. No major hesitations, especially since the alternator wasn't even providing a juice. It was just running on battery power. What else? One other big win. I was very concerned about this thing clearing over there. I don't know how much of that will show in the video, but my driveway and my garage is on a slope, so that's why I have my M3 parked on this side, because there's much less of a slope over here, so I can take that on an angle and not scrape with that. But with the truck, it's definitely got higher ground clearance, but I was worried about the exhaust, the transmission crossmember, and the oil pan. Those are the three things that hang pretty low on this, especially with it being lowered. And it cleared. So that's also a win, that I know I can drive this thing in and out of the garage without issues. Now, in terms of issues, still have the issues we already knew about, the alternator, but I've also uncovered a couple other things. So just going through, I noticed a little drip of coolant back here as I was bleeding and whatever else. I was kind of hoping it was just residual coolant, but it does turn out that I think the plastic piece for one of the heater core lines on the left there, I don't know if that's the feed or the return, that's going to need to be replaced. So I'm going to have to order a new heater core, whatever you call that, fitting, and drain some coolant out and then replace that, which is a pain. Also, my radiator cap, for one reason or another, is leaking. Probably a mix of the system not being bled properly. This was also the original cap that was on the Colorado. So I'll probably just order a new radiator cap to be safe. So I have to order those two things and replace both those. And then probably the biggest issue I have to go fix is the steering shaft is still hitting the headers. I kind of tried to take the easy way out on that the first time, and I basically dented the header in with it still on the truck. I think this time I'll probably jack up the truck, get under it, take the header off, dent the crap out of it so that it's not going to be an issue. And then that issue will be checked off the list. That's my own stupid fault for not checking that before I tightened everything up and put it together. So, heater core fitting, radiator cap, got to fix the steering shaft, and then continue to try and diagnose this alternator. This is the big thing. So if anyone has done an LS swap, especially similar swap with Gen 4 in a Colorado with the I think it's the E67 ECU out of CTSV, please hit me up. Let me know if you guys have any feedback on what the alternator issue could be. Running through what I've done, so cleaned all of my grounds, cleaned all my connections, battery connections, terminals, etc. I got a second alternator, had that alternator tested, and it tested good. I've added 2 additional grounds onto the stock grounds, one from the head over to the factory ground, and then I also grounded to motor to chassis as well. So just kind of some overkill on the grounds. What else? I'm probably going to try a new battery to see if that may do anything. I also replaced the mega fuse in here, the big fuse that typically goes wrong. Even though mine was fine, I figured a new one for $5 couldn't hurt, so it's got a new mega fuse as well. So my suspicion is that there's some module not talking to the alternator. Alternator's good, but it's either this this, or the BCM, this battery generator control module or whatever it is for some reason not talking to the ECU, and I don't know why that is. So someone smarter than me, school me up if you have any knowledge. Let me know if you guys have ideas in the alternator. There's clearly some, I'm assuming, some wiring issue somewhere that's wrong, which is tough when you don't do the wiring yourself, right? So all that being said, I think it was a positive day. Drove the truck. Now we have things that we have to go fix. Next step will be fix, drive again, and shake it down for a little bit longer this time. So thank you guys very much for watching. I know this video took a while. There just lots of issues between waiting on current and whatever else. And let me know if anyone has questions on their own swap. I can continue trying to use my learnings to help you guys. I'm also working, my garage is a mess, but I'm working on getting these fenders complete. So you guys will see that probably in the next video while I work in the background to get some of the engine stuff done. I'm going to try to get these over fenders painted up and on the truck. So that'll probably be the next one, and then hopefully after that is a longer drive and start having some fun with these things.